Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, DotNet-Dev-Journey with Jacob. And today is a day 3 of my journey to becoming a professional .NET developer. I hope you're excited as we get along on this journey. So today I'm going to be dealing with collections as array and lists. So we are going to be putting all that I spoke about yesterday into proper use for today's lesson. So yesterday I touched on method and I said method is a block of code that contains a line of statements or lines of statements for the purpose of performing a particular task. And this method can then be invoked or called upon by a program for execution. So, and we gave some examples of method. I said method could have a return type and it could just be a simple method. It could be, we could have an instance method or a static method, but for today we are going to be sticking with static method. Yesterday I also spoke about method overloading, which is having different versions of the same method name. And yesterday I also spoke about the naming convention for method, which is always good to use, and that's Pascal case naming method. So let's get along with today's uh, lesson. And like we know, today is day 3, so I'm creating a new project. Sorry, .NET. Don't forget, we are still working with console project for now and day 3. Moving to my day 3 folder. Then I open it up on VS Code. So here we have it. Here we have it. So let's open the program file. Don't forget I spoke about this. That's for every C sharp or .NET program, it is wrapped around a top level statement, which we can see now, but this is done implicitly, not explicitly, but we can do as explicitly if we want to. So doing it explicitly so as to give our projects an explicit structure of the top level statement. So here we have it. And today, let me just quickly give a rough sketch of a method. Here is a simple method. We can have static void greet. Don't forget I said the naming should be in always in Pascal case greet user. So this will take an argument of the name of the user. So passing a parameter to it, and the parameter is going to be a string. So this is a method. And what does method, what are the functions of a method or the use of a method? It enhances reusability. So it helps to reduce repetition of code. And so you can write the code just once and then reuse it whenever it is needed. It also helps to aid modularity, helps to break a big or complex project into simpler or simple modules, smaller modules, so to say. It also helps to enhance for efficient testing. So it has enhanced testability because it is easy to test smaller chunks and modules of code than testing the whole complex application or program at the same time. So yes, we can also have a method with a return type. Let's say static bool. Okay, let's use bool this time around. Is even. So this method is to test for even number. So and we are entering and the parameter this is going to take is an integer. So what we are doing is saying, because this is a return type, here is just a simple, this greet user is a simple method, but here is as a return is a return type method. So we are saying return number modulus 2 equals 0. So here, what it simply means that return the Boolean value of this expression. That is, it tests if number modulus 2 will give us a remainder of 0, and if it does, return. If it doesn't, return. So, and we know for bool you can only have two and options or two answers, which is either going to be true or false. So let's invoke these methods in the main program here. So we say create user. My name is Jacob. Don't forget it's a string we are putting in here, so it has to be wrapped around a double quotes like this. Then let's say for this, say is even for. Okay, let's wrap this if is even for. Don't forget I said if we are using just one if we are using just one line of statements, we can just go ahead and do this. Else, so we are saying if 4 is an even number, write 4 is even. If it is not, say 4 is odd. So let's run this code and see what happens. So I'm just still doing a brief rerun of what we discussed yesterday before we dive into today's lesson proper. So as you can see, we have hello Jacob, which is what we have here. Greet, where's the greet user? This is the greet user method. And we said right line hello name. So I passed in Jacob as the argument and it printed hello Jacob. Then for the is even, We know 4 is even because 4 divided by 2 will give us a remainder of 0. So, and that's why it's saying it's even. So let's leave it at that. Okay, let's test for 3 to be sure that our code is working. So here we have it, and let's rerun the code. You can see hello Jacob, 3 is odd. So 3 is not even because 3 divided by 2 will give us remainder of 1. So now we understand it. So let's proceed to working with arrays. So array is a kind of collection that is immutable. You cannot, once it is set or declared, it has fixed size. You can't modify the size. If there is need um, for one to increase the size, that means we need to create a new array of the needed size. So array is immutable. And one thing about array is that it has array is stored in a contiguous memory, so it is fast, it is memory efficient, and it works with index of 0. So its indexing starts from 0. So for example, if we have a collection of, maybe let's say we have 5 elements in the array. So if we want to reference the first element of the array, we are going to index it 0. So here is what I mean. To declare an array could either be an integer, a string, it could be a character, name it. So here, let's say we are declaring an integer of an array of integer values. So this is how to declare an array. Say numbers. So we can say new int of, let's say, 5. So here we are saying we are declaring an array of numbers which will take in 5 integer elements. That's what we are just simply saying here. And also we can make it uh, simple by just, we can now come here and say numbers 0 is equals to 10. Okay, let's go with the flow. So what this simply means is that now we are assigning the elements into our array of numbers. And don't forget, we have 5, we have declared the array size to be 5, which is going to take 5 elements. And here we are passing those elements into it. And the way array works, it has a 0 index. So the first element is going into index 0, the second element index 1, the third element index 2, the fourth element index 3, fifth element index 4. If we have a sixth element, then it's going to go into index 5, and so on and so forth. So now, for us to access this element, here's what we can do. We can say um, console dot write line element at index 0. Okay, let's say first element, don't forget it starts from index 0. So let's see the results we are going to get here. So I'm running this. So we can see first element is equals to 10, which is this. So if we change this to second element, so this will be 1. And if we run the program, we're going to have 20 here because that's the second element and it's accessed with the index 1. So for us to access the elements of an array, we use the index. That's the position where that element is. So as you can see here, is saying this can be better simplified. And that is one of the advantage of using some of these tools that helps to um, you know simplify our code, help us to learn better, make our code more simpler. So instead of declaring it like this, we can also just come here and just say 10, 20, 30 is the same thing. And we can see this is faster. This is faster. So here an array is always used when we know the size of the collection we are working with. If we know the number of the elements beforehand that we're going to be storing in the array. So for instance, if we have uh, an array of let's say new int 5, like we declared earlier, and you know maybe we just say we've added just 3 elements into an array of size 5 elements. So which means that the third and the fourth elements is not assigned. So let's say the result we are going to get here. This is the, let's say, okay, last element. So that will be array of, number 4 as the index. So let's see what output we are going to get. Remember, we only assigned 3 element value. That's from index 0 to 2. So from index 3 to 4, we haven't assigned any value or passed in any value. So let's see what we are going to get here. Last element can say 0. So this is what I'm trying to show us, that once we declare an array and we declare it like this, automatically it assigns, because the default for for an empty int value, it does not use null for it. It represents it as 0. So for an array, once we declare um, something of this nature, it assigns 0 to all the elements inside the array until we pass in the appropriate uh, appropriate value. into the array. So that being said, we now know we can also do string, just like I did yesterday. I used string of fruits, and in there I have, you know, so we can do this, and we can say last elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 5 elements, but starting from index 0, we are going to have the last element as index 4. So let's do this and see what our outcome is also going to be. Just trying to show us that we can have an integer array, we can have a string array, and so on and so forth. So we can see elderberry, which is the last element of the array. So one thing I would like us to just do a simple uh a simple tutorial here, or a simple project. I want us to find the maximum number of the elements in inside an array. So let's declare an array, or an array here. Let's declare an array of integer values. So we are saying array of numbers is equals to, so in here, let's say we have 200, 340, 690, 100, 240, and so on and so forth, like this. So here we have already declared an array of numbers. So now we want to find the maximum number. And don't forget, I spoke about for loop and for each loop. For each loops works best over a collection. We just want to go over a collection. But we use for loop mostly. It is mostly efficient to use for loop when the number of items is known, like the limit is known. So we can use the for loop for something like this because we know the limits of this. And we want this for iterating over a collection. So now what we do is we say int maximum number. So um we take in the maximum number. Excuse me, please. So here we take the first element of the array and we save it into this variable called max, which is the maximum. So but now we go over the array int I equals 1 because we've already taken the first value already. So that's why we are starting from 1 and not from 0, because here max is already holding the first element. So we say I less than numbers dot length, then I plus plus iterating. So here is where um the work starts. So we are saying that if numbers high, which is going to be the next element, numbers I here means if this. So we are starting our iteration over this array from the second element in the array because we have passed the value of the first element into this variable name called max, and this is going to be our testing condition, our testing variable. So we are saying numbers I is the second element in the array greater than max. Mind you, we already know that max is the first element. So we are saying, is the second element greater than the first element? If so, we are saying max is equals to numbers I. So if this is greater than this, then we update the value of max. Max becomes this. Then we come here and say console dot write line maximum number is max. We print out the max. So, and from here we can see the maximum number is 1200, right? So what this code does is this. It tests this against this. Yes, 340 is greater than 200. It updates the value of max to 340. Then it comes here again because high would have iterated to becoming 2. So, and 2 is the third element. So it's not going to test, is 690 greater than max? Don't forget that max, the value of max has been updated to 340. So here, max becomes 340. Is 690 greater than 340? Yes. So if yes, then it updates the value of max to 690. Then it checks for the next element. Is 100 greater than 690? No. So it would not change the value of max. Max remains 690. Then it tests against this. No. Test against this. No. It tests against this. Yes. 1200 is greater than 690, so it updates the value of max to 1200, then like that, and so on and so forth until the last element, and then it returns the result. So here we have, let's run this program and see the results. So here, as you can see, the maximum number is 1200, but we can also refactor this code to a method, to make use of a method, and by that we can just come here to create a static method to find max. So we are saying static because we are returning max, and max is an integer value, so it's going to be static int find max, which is find the maximum value. So we are passing in an integer of number to it. So, and what we just need to do here, we can just copy this code from right here down here, but we are going to be changing something from it. So instead of saying console the right line, we are saying return max. So, and here we just come back and, you know, say int max number is equals to numbers 10. So what we do here is we declare the array, then we pass in the array that has been declared here into this findMax method as a argument. And since findMax is returning the maximum value, so it returns a value that will be stored and into this max number variable name container, and then we output the max number here. This is better for reusability. So let's say we are going to be finding the max, we are going to be needing this method in a couple of places in our program. So we don't have to be repeating all these lines of code. All we just need to do is call on the find max method, pass in the arguments, and that's all. So now that we've done this, let's see if we are going to get the same result. So we can see the minimum number is 1, 2. So you can try this. Here is find max. You can find min. Try to, you know, try to play around yourself and, create a method called unnamed find me and see how that is going to work if you're able to get that. So here we come to the end of working with arrays. There are more to working with arrays, but I just gave this short explanation and practice so that we can see how it works. So now I'm going to be moving to lists. A list is always referred to in C# as a list list of T. List of T. So the list of T means list of any kind of data. So it could hold an object, it could hold an integer, it could just name it a string or but the difference between list and array is that list is mutable. It is dynamic. You can expand the size of a list. It is not fixed in size like array. So this is dynamic and it is more flexible to work with. But they both have their trade-offs, because for array is fast, memory efficient, but list is flexible to work with, and it gives a number of inbuilt functions that one can work with as well. But one thing we must not forget is that the underlying factor of an array of a list rather is also an array. Array is the background, runs in the background of a list. So list is implemented on the core functionality of an array, but just that it is more flexible than when we are working with arrays directly. So having said that, how do we declare a list? So we declare a list by saying list of ints, numbers, and we can also go ahead to, oh, sorry, that's going to be this and not a curly bracket for array, but a straight bracket for for a list. So here we have our list declared. And okay, let me also declare an array. And let's see what I mean by saying it is immutable. So we can do this for a list. We can say numbers dot add 6. Can we see? But we cannot say int or nums dot add. This is going to result into an error. Uh, this append here, one thing is it is going to add, like create another list internally. What it does, it's sorry, for the nums is an array, while numbers is a list. But here, this function dot append internally is going to create another array, extend the size, and then pass the values into this nums. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So, okay, let's see. Hmm, for each. Let's quickly look at what the output of this will be. Don't forget, we are learning together. I'm also trying to play around the code to see how it works. So here we can see that regardless of the fact that we said nums.append 6, the output we are able to get is still 1 to 5, which means it does not work for it. And let's look at the comments here. That main calls append but does not use the value the method returns. It does not use the value that the method returns because there is no space for it. Okay, let's do this and see if that will work. No, it's fine. Tell you the reason why I said nums 5. You can see index was outside the bounds of the array. So why I'm using nums 5 here is if this were to work or were to be true, which means we are saying nums are appendices, that means we are saying add 6 to this element here. So, and the element is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then add 6 to it. That means we'll have 6 elements inside this array. But remember I said array is immutable, so you cannot extend the size. And because we fixed the size here, using this method will not work on the array because it does not have the capacity to take in these elements here, these additional elements. So here I'm trying to see if it does take it, and that's why I'm referencing the index as 5 because we know this is 5 elements. This has an index of 4. Then if it were to add this, we know we have an index of 5, and I'm indexing it 5 to see if it's going to return this value. But like I said earlier, it's going to result into an error, which we have here, outside bound, index outside bound. So which means it did not work. So, and we can see the reason why I said arrays are immutable, why list is mutable and flexible to work with. So now that we have numbers, we've added 6. Let's see if the 6 will be part of this element that will be outputted here. Remember, for array, the 6 was not added, but here the 6 is added to the array, despite the fact that we have declared it as, and we have assigned 5 elements to it, but it could still take another value. So that's the advantage that list has over array. So you don't need to know the exact size of your lists. You can just add elements to it as you get along, as you need, if need be. So that is the advantage list has over an array, and it is, like I said earlier, it is more flexible. We can also have list of uh, string, you know, list of T's. So you understand what I'm saying? Now, there's another way to also do this. We can say, so we can also declare it this way by using the var keyword. So what the var keyword does is that based on the value assigned on the right hand side, it is able to infer what data type you are working with, and it's automatically infer the data type, and that's what very var keyword does. So instead of trying to say integer so, you can say var. For example, I can say var name equals to sample name, and if you place it here, you will see that we have string name. If I change this to a character, we know a character is just should be in a single. So if I put it here, you see car name. So it infers whatever you have on the right, and infer the data type on the variable name that you are using on the left. So I hope that is understood. So we are going to be doing something here. We are going to work on the project, a simple to-do list app, a simple to-do list app. That's what we are going to be working on now. So let's quickly start that. And to do this, we are going to be putting all that we said yesterday, discussed yesterday, into practice. So for a to-do list app, we want to have um, a user menu. So you can say static user menu, static void, sorry, user menu, or should we use show menu? Okay, static void user menu. And here we are saying, okay, console dot write line uh, simple to-do list program. So here we say add task, just a simple one, display tasks and exits. So that's all we are doing. Here we have it. This is a method. Why we are putting this in a method is because this will have to reuse this over and over um, again. So putting it in a method simplifies the whole thing. So now another thing we need to look at is how to accept input from the user. So number one, we are going to be taking um, an integer input. We are going to be taking a string input because to add a task is string. We are adding um, a string, but to select the menu option, it's an integer because we have from 1 to 3. So another method we need to create is method to accept user option. So static integer gets user choice. I would continue this project from Visual Studio Code because of the IntelliSense in VS Code. So because the IntelliSense is, it's suggesting codes, but I don't want to work with suggested code so that we can think by ourselves and know what to do. So I'm switching here, and so I'm removing this line of code from it, and we're just going to stick with this for now. But the purpose of doing this is so that we can understand and reason for ourselves instead of working with IntelliSense in the VS Code. It is better we learn the syntax ourselves, train our minds on how to solve problems as a programmer, and that's why I'm doing this. So here we are going to apply one of the things we learned yesterday, and here int value. I'm going to be declaring a valid. So do oh, so invalid is equals to int dot try pass int dot try pass. That's going to be console dot read line. out value or out option is option because we are taking option from ins value slash out option what else and less than one so dot three. So here we are saying that um it should try and convert the whatever outputs or whatever input the user is, whatever option or whatever the user has imputed as their option, try to convert it into an integer value and also ensure that that value is not less than 1 or greater than 3. Because here we know the options can only range between 1 and 3. So if the user is entering 0, you shouldn't take it. If the user is entering 4, which is greater than 3, you shouldn't take it. So, or it is best to use this. Okay, let's int main int max because we might want to increase the options later on, add other options to it. So let's just int main int max because here we've hard coded it. So even if we are now trying to change or increase the menu options, that means it's going to affect this and we have to be correcting it from here again. But with this, we don't have to, do that. We just pass in the uh, the arguments here of the minimum number and the maximum number. So that being said, let's move forward. If not valid, if not valid, say invalid option. So here, we are saying take the user inputs, then convert the input into an integer, check if the input is between the minimum and maximum option values, and if not, keep prompting the user to enter the correct value until the user gets it correctly. So, and for this method, we are taking a string. We have a string parameter, and integer parameters as well. So, another thing we are going to look at is we also need to get uh, user inputs. Now, this is the user choice, but we also need to take input from the user when they are adding um, a task. And so we can create another method for, say, static string, because we are getting a string value now from the user. Get string inputs. And to get string inputs, we're going to pass in a parameter prompting the user to enter the task they want to add. So here, saying valid string inputs, string inputs, then bool valid do. Don't forget when I spoke about using do, I said do is you want to ensure that your code is being executed once before the condition is tested, and it's for repeating something until a particular condition is met. So that's why we are putting this code in a do while loop. So what it does is that it takes user input, checks if it is valid, and then it continues. It exits the loop. But once it checks the user input and it is not valid, it keeps repeating it until the user enters a valid input. That's why we are using do while. And we know there's no way we can do that without ensuring that the user enters the input first before the condition can be tested. So that's why we're having this do while loop. So we say um, inputs is equals to console.readline, and valid is equals to string dot its name MC. So we check if what the user has entered is null or empty, and string, no, it should be not. If it is not null or empty, and not string dot is white space imputes if it is not valid. So we say console.writeLine invalid entry. Enter. Try again. Try again. So, and it continues to do that while it is not valid. Then we return the inputs. So, forget to put your delimiter here. So the reason why I'm putting this sign here is making sure that the input is not null. So here is accepting a nullable input. This sign means nullable. So nullable means the at the point of entry, at the point where the user is um providing the details, or entering their supplying the value, it could be a null value, like the user might not enter anything. So we are declaring that the variable should still be able to take it, but then we'll now test if it is null or empty or white space here. And at the final end, we know that the input we are returning, the value we are returning, is not going to be null. So that's why making sure that it's not null. As you can see, input is not null here. So that being said, so how do we do this? How do we execute this? So at first, don't forget we are working with a list here. So we can declare our lists as list of string, because we want to store string of tasks. So we are saying tasks here, or let's say to-do list. Let's use tasks instead of to-do list. Tasks equals new. You can have it this way. So here we've declared an empty task um, list. So what else are we going to be declaring here? We are going to be declaring a bool exit equals false. So then we'll start our do while loop. We'll do until while not exit. So it means we are going to be repeating the menu option, trying to take um, input from the user to perform an operation until the user exits this application. And that is why we are wrapping this, we are using this do while loop, and we have declared a bool here to monitor the user input and to know when the application should be exited. So with that being said, the first thing we want to do is to display the user menu. Once the application starts, we display the user menu. And here we go, user menu. That's all we need to do, like that, user menu. So here we can decide to, we need to add our delimiter. So here we can decide to add, let's say, a new line to it. You can say console.writeLine just to give it a bit of space. Then the next thing we want to do is we want to take in our user um, choice. And to do that, we are going to say, don't forget, it is returning an integer value. So we need to declare our option here. And we say int choice int choice is equal to get user choice. Then we are passing in an argument here, and the argument is select an option. And to make it more cleaner, we can even put this string prompts equal select an option from the menu. So select an option from the menu. So here is what we are passing into the get user choice. So we are saying prompts. Then we are also passing in the number of the min and max value, which is 1 and 3. So we need to do a bit of change here. So here we can say console.writeLine prompts, because we need to prompt the user to get their inputs. So we are doing the same here. Yeah. So yes, string prompt int choice. So now that we've gotten the choice, the option of the user, should we go with choice or option? What did we use here? Option, okay. Let me change this to option. So now we've gotten the option from the menu. And what next do we do? We need to process this option. And to do that, here is what we can do. We can then use a switch statement on the option. So we say if we have a case one, that is if the user enters one. And from the menu, we can see that here we are saying one is add task. But we won't don't want to write uh, the okay, let's just go ahead and write the add task here and see. Then we can now refactor the code to make it simpler and modular. So here we want to add a new task to the list that we've created above here. So and the first thing we need to check is if we are adding a task, we need to see if the task we are adding exists already. Because if it exists already, that means we are having duplicates and we don't want to have duplicates. So to take care of that, we need to check if number one, the list is not empty, and if the list contains uh, what we want to add. And another thing is we need to also prompt the user to add what to enter the tags they want to add. So the first thing is prompting the user to get their input, the tags they want to add, then check if the list is not empty and if it contains what the user is already trying to add again. Then we prompt to the user, give a display and output that the task already exists. And if the task does not exist, then we proceed with adding the task to the list. So here what we do is we get the user inputs, and to do that, I think we already have a get string input here. And so we say string task gets string inputs, and let's say prompt. We can just pass in the prompts from here and say uh, enter the task to be added like this. So, and I can also assign it to a variable name and then pass the variable name into the get user input as an argument. But I think this is better because it reduces the line of code that I have to write. So string task is equals to this. So the next thing now is to check if the list is empty. So we say if tasks dot count is equals to 0. So means that there is nothing in the list. It's empty. And okay, if count is equals to 0 and tasks dot contain task, then we say uh, we say one message. Okay, task already exists. Try again. Full stop. Right. So task already exists. Try again. And then if not, we say tasks dot add task. So if this is not the case, then add task. But here it's still going to add it because there's something we need to do here that we haven't done. So I'm moving this in here. Thing I can do is say, let's remove this. If task is this, do this else task dot add this, and then we'll break out of this. So very simple, isn't it? Task dot add task. So if the first thing we get the inputs, and the next thing is we check if this exists. If it does not exist, we add it. If it does exist, we display task already exists, try again to the user. But we can also simplify this, but we'll come to that. Let's go ahead with case 2. What is case 2? Display task. So we want to display all the tasks in this task list. So to do that, we need to be sure that the list is not empty. So first, we test if the list is not empty. So we say if tasks dot count is equals to 0. Then we say list is empty. Else we iterate over the lists and then we print the items in the list. So we use for int of int I rather is equal to 0, starting from 0 index, don't forget. I less than tasks dot count. Yesterday, don't forget I used when I was working with array is dot length, task, which is lists, is dot count. To get the size of a list, you use count. To get the size of an array, you use length. So now we iterate over this and we say console.writeLine. I want to use string interpolation here. We have I plus 1 because it starts from 0 index. So I want to start the numbering of our own list from 1. Can't start from 0. So which means we are adding 1 to 0, adding 1 to 1 to, make it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we are just manipulating the values here. So here we say 1, then we have our tasks. That's going to be tasks. Oh, it should be in a curly brackets. Tasks. This is to access the value of that particular index. So task I. So we do this and then we break out of our code. Then for case 3, here uh, we ask the user, we prompt the user if they want to exit or not, to confirm if they want to exit. So we are saying, say to the user, are you sure to exit? And then we get the inputs for the exits. So we can just say, okay, let's write another method for the exits. Can say static character, because static confirm exits. So let's prompt the user as well to confirm their exits, and we are saying shown input. So let's also pass in other parameters. So char y and char n. Char y, char n. So yeah, then we have bool as well. Bool valid. So yeah, we do while we say prompts, then char equals read console dot read line. Uh, let's say valid equals okay, yeah, char dot try pass. Then we have console dot read line. Out inputs and inputs equal to y or input equals no. So we say if not valid, console.write line invalid. Oh, sorry, it's supposed to be in a double quote. Invalid entry. Later. Okay, let me remove it. That's a lower there. Okay, enter yes or no. enter yes or no. While not valid, then return inputs dot to string dot to lower. Oh, okay. So how do I do this? Okay, now let's now go back to our code above. So, oh, if choice is equals to y, exit equals true. And we have the defaults. Invalid entry. Right. Again. So here we have it. But this code can still be simplified, but let's just have a run and see what we would get. Simple to this to-do list program, add tags, display task, and exit. Select an option. So let's select one. Add a task to be added. Go shopping tomorrow. Go shopping tomorrow. I'm supposed to display a message here, at least for the user to see if it has been added successfully or not. But let's see if it has been added. Let's go with option 2. You can see here, go shopping tomorrow. So, and it keeps repeating this for me until, let me select 3 and see, are you sure you want to exit? If I say no, a valid entry. Are you sure you want to exit? Let me see. A valid entry, enter yes or no. Why is it saying invalid entry? Something is wrong with the code. So let's go back and see what's going on. I entered Y, still not going. I enter N, it's still saying invalid entry. Okay, let's go back to my code. Why am I getting invalid entry? Sure. Trying to understand where this is coming from. Let me test something. It's working now. So why is it not working with the argument I passed in? What am I getting wrong? Okay. Need to be careful when doing these things. That's that's the only thing I'll try now. It's working now. So one thing I'll need to do is this. I'm trying to format the what's it called? Mm, Here we have it. And okay, we can just add this to shift it to the next line so that there can be a space. So let's see. So it says task added successfully and comes down to the next line. So let's have a display of the tasks. So we can see shopping on Monday. So, but let's format this so that it can look better. You can see the list of tasks here. And finally, let's exit. Are you sure to exit? Yes. And we have our program closed. So this brings me to the end of today's tutorial, day 3 of my .NET journey, .NET Dev journey to becoming a professional developer. So you can play around this code, add more options to it. You can add options to delete. But one thing I would like you to do, please try to for the addition and this kindly refactor this code to create a method that checks if the list is empty and also a method that adds a new task as well as a method that prints out all the tasks. So refactor this code to make use of method. And I will be doing that in the next video because this video is too long already. So tomorrow I'll tidy up on that and then move to the next thing, which will be OOP, Object-Oriented Programming. Thank you for staying tuned with me. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.